Jackie, how have the first 2 weeks been?
Hectic. I have no office, I have no staff, but the inch and a half of post keeps coming in on a daily basis, so we're all running around and squatting where we can and trying to get on top of the job. But really, it's time now to focus on what I can do in Parliament and what I can do in Parliament for people of Thurrock. So we've had the Queen's speech now. We're actually getting into the throes of government business, and it's an exciting time to be there.
So you're talking about government business and direct relations to the people of Thurrock, things like academies. I was speaking to a head teacher yesterday that when he got the letter from Michael Gove, he was straight on with his online application. Are you encouraged by things like that?
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, and actually that's a vindication of what we've been saying about academies and about how education is currently run, because to be honest, local education authorities quite often get in the way of good schools being able to expand and actually thereby preventing all children from getting the best education. So I would say to any headmaster or headmistress in Thurrock, if you want to be an academy, please do fill in that form, and we will do our best to make sure that happens for you.
Do you think that applies to primaries as well? Because 149 out of 151 for Key Stage 2 result, I mean, that really applies to them as well?
It applies to them as well, because, and I would say this, show me any good school and I'll show you a good head. And the more we can do to actually free up the powers for those headmasters and headmistresses to actually drive forward the school the way they want to, with the support of parents and governors, the better. So yeah, it applies just as much to primaries as it does to secondaries.
And how are your Lib Dem pals?
Well, we're having good fun with our Lib Dem pals. I mean, you will be aware that, all political parties are a broad church. To be honest, the Liberal Democrats are broader than anyone. You have a good chunk of them that are very much to the left, and they're the ones that you tend to find in the south of England where they've been used to fighting us. But if you go to where Nick Clegg's from, my hometown of Sheffield, then actually you find that Liberal Democrats there are very much of the right because they're used to fighting the Labour Party. It will be an interesting and challenging time for Liberal Democrats, but as far as the government's platform's concerned, I think we've all united around those things which do unite us, and I would say particularly the whole agenda of freedom. And when you look at what the last government did, if there's a problem, let's legislate, let's make a law. More and more laws, more and more offences. No point having loads of laws if you can't police them and actually enforce them. All you do is actually put more curbs on the freedom of the law abiding. And that's actually something that we and the Liberal Democrats are completely at one about. So the freedom bill that's going to come in, where we're actually going to go, you recommend a law that you don't think is any use, we'll get rid of it. Get rid of ID cards, and actually let's get back to basics about what our law is for. Our law is to protect those people who actually do abide by it and who do take responsibility, and punish those who don't. And that's what it needs to get back to.
I found over the last couple of days that there's a lot of organisations in Thurrock who have got funding from organisations like the East of England Regional Assembly, but there's almost a little bit of hysteria that they're almost understanding the Regional Assembly's been abolished and they're not going to get any more money. How's anybody going to stem or stop that hysteria?
Well, that's up to us. We've been quite open about the fact that we need to get rid of all these bureaucratic organisations, and the reality is that a lot of these organisations that are benefiting from funding have to apply from multifarious sources. Only yesterday we were at the RSPB Centre. I think it's 28 sources of funding for that project. When it all came under the one umbrella of Thames Gateway, that is frankly ridiculous. So I would say to anybody who's worried about their funding, just keep calm and just make your representations in the usual way to either me or to any government department, and we'll see what we can do for you. But the reality is, by getting rid of things like ERA and all those sort of regional agencies, we will actually make more money available to be spent on the ground where it matters, instead of actually for people to file paper and push it around.
And surgeries, the good man in Harlow, Robert Halfon, was having his surgery at Lacken Bush Centre last night. What's the organisation for yourself?
I'll be having monthly surgeries at the civic offices starting next Friday, but also we'll be moving them around as well, and we'll keep people informed of those. But if anybody wants to see me at my surgery, if they can call the office and we'll book them in, and I'll do my best to help them.
And finally, what's gone on in Thurrock Council, that the Labour are now, inverted commas, in power. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest, I don't think Thurrock Council really is a good example of how democracy and how local government should work in action. And I think it's pretty grubby that a political party, I don't think, to be honest, that either the two mainstream political parties have covered themselves in glory in recent months. But to do business with people who frankly have been discredited by our own party, I'm actually pleased that my own party did not give in to people who, actually were trying to hold the group to ransom, and we preferred to say goodbye to power and let them go. But it's pretty then grubby of the Labour Party to do deals with them. And you have been watching what's been happening in Thurrock for a number of months. I think the whole issues surrounding planning needs some serious attention, and I think it's external attention, to be quite honest. And I don't think putting Terry Hipsey in the chair is really the solution. So I think it will continue to run and run. I'm sure that John Kent feels very proud of the political battle he won, but I think in the long term he'll lose the war.
Thanks, Jackie.
All right.